All right, this should be opening up now. And for the, if you guys just want to open up your working infographic file, the Star Trek Falcon piece that, of course, we've been working on. There it goes. I was wondering for a second there. And this is kind of where we left off. There's not, some of you guys have forged much farther ahead, especially in terms of adding detail to these line drawings here. But I'm going to zoom in just a little bit so that we can kind of see. Let's see. There we go. Keystrokes. All right, there we are. So we can see a little bit about using type styles. Now, for those of you that have essentials, who does not have the essentials set up on theirs? Yours, you don't, Christian?
I have the one from that one tutorial we watched where
Okay.
we switched around.
Where we move stuff around. That might still not include some of the things that we're looking for here. Anyone else not have essentials? Well, I'm not going to at this stage ask you to reset your tools, especially if you've set them up in a way that's comfortable for you and allows you to work quicker. But there are two panels missing here that are not that we'd have to bring up from the panel's options. And so, if you click on Window and then scroll down, you'll see there's type as one of the options here. And unlike most of the others, the type option actually has a flyout window that includes a lot of different panels. So it's not just the character panel that's included there. There's also glyphs, which is handy for coming up with special characters. And hopefully I can demonstrate that a little bit. But right now, let's go ahead and open up character styles. And you should see a new panel appear. And of course, the character styles panel is the one that appears first because it's the one we selected. Notice right behind it is the paragraph styles panel. Okay? Everyone kind of see that? So you go Window and then Type, and then select Character Styles. And notice that Paragraph Styles, the tab is right behind it. You can click on that and you'll see it pretty much looks the same at this stage. Okay, real quick question for those of you that might be savvy with working with styles in other programs such as Microsoft Word or even InDesign. Anyone know the difference between character and paragraph styles? Any ideas on that?
The character is the individual letters.
Uh-huh.
And the paragraph is the paragraph.
It affects an entire paragraph. That's exactly right. So the character styles will allow you to adjust and manipulate a specific character within a paragraph or a sentence or whatever you have. So here I've selected the W-O in the word to, just randomly. And if I had a character style that, say, changed the font to bold and changed the color, it would apply that to just those two characters. That's it. If I were to use a paragraph style, it would apply the style, whatever it was, to the entire paragraph. Now, what constitutes a paragraph? Who can tell me in the world of computers what constitutes a paragraph? Anyone? Close. It's close. Not quite a line break. It's a little more than a line break. Anyone else? Anyone else? Going once, going twice. So basically, a paragraph in a computer is whenever you hit the return key. That is a paragraph break. As a matter of fact, I'll bring up the invisibles in a little bit, but whenever you hit the return key in Illustrator, Microsoft Word, Photoshop, all these programs, InDesign, just about any program, Pages, any word processor, even text edit, Notepad, anytime you hit the return key, that constitutes a new paragraph. Now, for those of you who may not know, there is a way to create a new paragraph type break without actually creating a new whole paragraph. It might be a little confusing the way I'm explaining it, so why don't I go ahead and demonstrate this. All right. Let's jump into some demoing and a little less talking here. I'm going to bring up the original design so we have something to reference, a little bit of a cheat, but that's okay. And you can see here in this one I have that same paragraph that's up at the top here. And if I click on that entire type area box, I'll notice all of those letters are exactly the same. If I click on the character panel, I'll see that it's Arial at 14 points. And if I look in my tools panel, I'll see that it's filled with white. Indeed, that's what it looks like on screen, and that's what I have here. If I click on this block of text, which is not area type, it's actually line type that I hit a bunch of returns after, you'll notice when I click on the character panel, it still says Arial, it still says regular, but the font size is missing. And of course you know why that is, right? Because there's multiple font sizes. Exactly. So you can tell that I have this slightly larger header here, subheader really, and then this body copy that's smaller. So because it's multiple sizes, Illustrator doesn't give you the result in the font size field. And I'll continue on down and I'll click on, let me click on this guy here. This is an area type box, and now if I click on the character, of course, as you expect, it's Arial. 8 points, and this time it's colored yellow. Okay, so we definitely have some different font sizes going on here. I have a feeling that this headline is the same size as this intro text, which of course I remember being 14 points. So I'm going to click on my type tool, and you can hit the keyboard shortcut, the letter T basically, to jump to the type tool. But remember, be careful with that keyboard shortcut. That's one of the ones you really need to be careful with, right? Because if you're typing away and you decide to hit the letter T to get to the type tool, well, you'd already be on the type tool. But of course, you would actually type the letter T, not get the type tool. So anyway, I actually do that sometimes. So I can't think of the scenario, but it happens. So let me go ahead and switch over to the type tool and then select that text individually, just a few of its characters, and I'll see indeed the text is Arial 14 points white. So it is the same as that header that I made there up at the top, the intro text. And that's okay, because what I want to do for consistency's sake is I want to turn this into a paragraph style so that I can take the characteristics of this text and apply them to both of these subheaders, because I want them to be the same so that the design looks a little more organized that way with consistent elements moving around the page. So I'm going to switch back over to my working document, and I'm going to go ahead and click on my type tool and select some of that text.
You don't have to select all of it?
No, you don't have to select all of it, because I want to borrow from a little bit of this text, just the characters, to create my new paragraph style. So after selecting on some text, go ahead and switch over to your paragraph style tab up here. Okay? And you notice by doing that, you should have normal paragraph style with a little plus sign next to it. Right? You guys see that?
Mine doesn't have a plus.
No? Okay. Do you have your type selected?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Some of you probably do. Who does not have a plus next to? You don't? No. Okay. What color is the font that you're typing with? White? White?
Yes.
Okay. So the reason that this plus is here is it indicates that there's already a default style built into Illustrator. That's why it's got these brackets that say normal. Well, something has changed to that style, and Illustrator has added the plus to it. Now, if you don't have a plus next to it and you do have some text individually selected in there, it could be that somehow Illustrator thinks that whatever you have in here is the default text style. All right? Now, more on that in a little bit. But while we have that paragraph style open, go ahead and click on this little button down here called Create New Style. And you notice now the default name is paragraph style 1, and the next one will be 2 if we don't change the name. And I don't like that name, so I will change the name. Any ideas on how to change that name? Double click it, of course, you guys. You guys got this stuff down. All right, so double click on the name, and sure enough, there we can change it. And I'm going to call this one Headline, or Headlines, because there's going to be a couple of them. Okay, so I double clicked on the name to change that style. Now, just like with our Layers panel, if I click to the right of the name in any of this empty space over here, now when I double click, it should, there it goes. Now when I double click, it brings up the Paragraph Style Options dialog box. So you see the difference there? I double clicked on the name to change the name, but when I double click to the right over here, it should bring up the paragraph style options. Who's not getting the paragraph style options? Everyone's getting that? Okay. So notice what this new style that we just created is displaying here in the basic character formats. You see that? It has Arial, regular, 14 point, a tracking of -50. You see that? So what I'm trying to point out here is sometimes when you're designing on the fly, right? Most of the time, right? Yeah, I mean, most of the time when you're working in Illustrator, you kind of have an idea of what you want to do, but you don't know exactly what font, what color, so you're exploring during your design process. Once you have your design down, like you have a text style maybe that you really like, in this case it's a 14-point Arial white with a -50 tracking. Once you have that, you can select some of the text, and after selecting it, you click on the Create New Style button, and the new style takes on the characteristics of your selected text. You guys see that?
Yep.
If I hadn't selected any text, it might have still adopted those characteristics simply because it was the last text that I had selected. But if not, if I hadn't selected any text or started typing anything, and I created a new style in my document, it would probably be, what? Any guesses what it would probably be if I hadn't typed in my document yet and tried to create a new style?
The default.
The default, myriad, 12 points, black. Yep, exactly. So just a little tip there about how styles work. The Character Styles panel would have done exactly the same thing. So that's a nice little shortcut for creating new styles if you're working in Illustrator and already have a design that you like and want to apply across the board. Okay. On the left-hand side of this options panel, you'll see a bunch of different options. And this is where you can get really fancy with your paragraph styles. Okay? The first thing under General, let's go ahead and click on the General tab, is the overview of everything that's happening with your text. That's all it is. It actually should almost be called Dashboard or Overview. That's what it is. It's an overview, and that's what we're looking at here inside of this scrollable window. Now, if you click on Basic Character Formats, you'll see that we can actually adjust the style for this font right here. So everyone, let's go ahead and change this over and look what Illustrator. Does everyone have a preview button here? Check automatically.
Yeah.
Man, why doesn't Illustrator do that on all the other options? Drives me crazy. Drives me crazy every day. Anyway, so everyone go ahead and click on the drop-down menu here on the right-hand side of the size field. And let's go ahead and switch over to 24 points. Okay. And notice that the characters that we had selected here have changed in size. Okay? And let's go ahead and leave it like that. Let's switch over to the advanced character formats. This is some of the stuff you really never want to do. I think I mentioned this before. But look what you can also do with this text. You can change the horizontal scale, the vertical scale, so you can make the type look more squishy or stretched out, taller. All sorts of stuff there. Baseline shifting. Who knows what baseline shift is?
Let's say it comes off,
Yep.
goes up or down.
The text rises and negative values will make it go below the baseline. All text has a baseline, and you can make it go up or down with that. Indents and spacing. Oh boy, this is where we can get really fancy, and I'll demonstrate this now. Everyone go ahead and click on indents and spacing, and then just click on the up arrow on the left indent, 3 or 4 times. And you'll see what's starting, if you have a preview of what's going on with your text here, you'll see that the left indent of my text is moving inwards. It's now moved in 10 points. So this is 10 points indented from the left-hand side of my area type box. First line indent, let's go ahead and hit the bottom arrow 10 times. Or you could type in -10 is really what I'm looking for. And you can see what's happened here, right? You can actually indent a paragraph and then outdent the first line if you like. Tom, I don't know if you've seen that before. I know in parts of Europe and I don't know about Australia, New Zealand down there, but there's also outdent is a popular way to treat text. Instead of indenting it, we indent here. Outdenting is also another technique. Of course, we can also indent this by typing in 20 here, positive 20. You don't need to type in the plus. But here you can see I just typed in 20, and now we still have our left indent, and that first line has indented an additional 20 points. And one of my favorite things to use, and you won't be able to really see it here, is the space before and the space after features. So basically what those do is you can add an amount of space after every paragraph break. Normally when you're typing a document, right, you're typing and then you type it and then you hit return to the next paragraph. There's no space between them, right? So you usually hit a second return. So you have one blank, empty return inside of there. That's not always the best way to manage your documents, especially if you're doing some complicated type layout in Illustrator. So a space before or a space after is usually the one I use, will allow you to add space after a paragraph. So when you hit the return key, there's actually space between there automatically. That's what those features are for. So with that being said, I'm going to add 40 points of space after so we can really see it. We'll get to that in a second. I'm just kind of drilling down these little by little. The tabs key or option. This works very much like the tabs that you might find in Microsoft Word, right? Who hasn't used Microsoft Word or some application like that. Anyone not use that? Right? I mean, I know you guys have been turning in typed assignments, but I don't know if you've been using the simple text edit program on the Mac and all that. Yeah, of course, everyone's used that, so you understand how tabs work, and the symbols are very similar to what they are in a program like Word, where this is a left tab, this is a center tab, a right tab, a decimal tab. And Leader's kind of cool. You can add characters between tabs and all sorts of stuff. That's pretty straightforward.
What's the last one?
The Leader?
Yeah, what,
Leader, all that does is it allows you to add characters between your tabs. So one that I commonly use, if I'm using Leader, is I go in there, and why don't we do this so that I'll demonstrate. I hadn't planned on demonstrating tabs. But go ahead and click inside of the Leader button or field there, hit the space bar, and then hit a period, just one period in there. And let's leave it like that. Oh, we also need to make a tab. So let's go ahead and drop a left tab at the ½ mark. And, oh, I missed the ½ mark. Yikes. I can see that my tab marker is still selected. That's okay, because it's still selected. I can select this X coordinate and change it to 0.5. I want to go to 0.5. There must be some alignment thing that's not letting me do that. It sure looks like it's at ½ inch. I don't know why it's saying.
it looked like it's ½ inch and it said 0.75.
Interesting. I wonder if that's something that may be set in the general preferences for Illustrator. I'm not sure, but nevertheless, it's this is just for demonstration purposes. We don't need to troubleshoot that right now. Let's go ahead and skip down to hyphenation. Really getting advanced here. Hyphenation is, obviously, you can have a lot of granular control as to how often Illustrator will add hyphens to the end of your lines. Right? You know that when text is running across a page, it automatically does word breaks, and sometimes it leaves a hyphenated word. Right? Well, using all of these options, look at this, you can do hyphens, words longer than 12 characters, only, there's all, hyphenation zone is the distance between hyphenated lines. So in other words, if you have a big, long line of text, you can set Illustrator so that it will not hyphenate anything within, 100 points of the last hyphen. All sorts of fancy options. Really what I want to do is give you an overview as to how many complex features are in these paragraph style options. We're not going to be able to get into all of them right now, of course. It's actually a pretty advanced stuff. But an overview is, I think, good in introducing the concept of this. The last one I want to show you guys here is justification. And justification is, who knows what justification is? Anyone know? Justification. It's like, oh, what is that? That sounds like such a big word for this.
Well, it's where it starts. If you want to justify left, it will start on the left. If you want it right, it will start on the right.
Yeah.
Center will start on the center.
Close. You're close on that. Justification is, and usually it's where you have a solid alignment, a solid line on the left-hand side. In other words, all text will originate from the left side and will also flush on the right-hand side. That's usually called full justification, is what that is. Who's seen that, where you have the paragraphs that are completely squared off, right? There's no ragging that happens on one side. Typically, most of the time we like the ragging to be on the right. It actually helps with readability. But sometimes in your designs, you want that text to look really rigid, very squared off. Well, you can select full justification. I'll show you that in your paragraph options. You can select full justification. Well, anyway, all of that being said, here you can actually control how that justification works, because in order for any program to justify text, in other words, making the left edge and the right edge completely solid or aligned, in order to do that, it has to add space between words. It doesn't stretch the text out unless you tell it to, but it has to add space between words. Sometimes that can look pretty ugly, right? Especially if you have a lot of small words. You might have these big rivers running through the text, and it'll look awkward. So here, you can actually do a bunch of settings to control whether it stretches characters out, how much it's going to spread the words apart. Really powerful stuff. Again, just an overview on some of the great features that Illustrator incorporates into its styling options. So we made some adjustments. I think our last one was the tabs. Let's go ahead and click on OK. All right. So now I made all these adjustments, but when I click my text, only this, it almost behaved like a character modification here, right? Not a whole paragraph. Well, notice that our new style has that plus sign next to it. I'm making these mistakes on purpose because you guys are going to come across this, and that's really important to know. There was already some hard-coded stuff going on in this text originally. And so now Illustrator's like, well, I know you applied this new headline, but I still want to preserve some of the original stuff. Well, at any point in time, you can erase any of the modifications that were made and then apply this entire style to your entire block of text. And to do that, you hold the Option key down and click on the headlines style. And now you see it applied the font size, all sorts of stuff. I don't know why I didn't apply the indents here. Let me double click that. There it goes. I thought I set the indent. Oh, maybe I didn't. I just did the space after. Okay. That's okay.
You said hold Option and do what?
And click on the name headlines in your paragraph style.
Okay.
And you notice now, after doing that, it's gotten rid of the plus, and it applied that entire style to our block of text. You guys see that?
Well, my text is weird.
Uh-oh, you might have deleted something when you... your text, okay. Who's got text that disappeared? Anyone else? It might be because the text got so big for your box that it doesn't fit anymore. So what I usually do in that case, Christian, is I'll take my direct selection tool and I'll click away from anything so nothing is selected. Then I'll hover over the bottom of my area type box. You see where I'm hovering over the bottom. I'll click on it and drag it down holding the Shift key. I'll click and drag. And hopefully that brings some of your text back. There you go. Yes.
See, if that were to happen, could you
Excuse me.
then double click on headlines and change something?
Absolutely.
Without having a bit of the text selected?
Absolutely.
You can?
Yep. That's the cool part. I wanted to demonstrate that next. So if you go back to look at your indents and spacing. I bet you have space. Oh, you did have space after. No, that was right. Actually, you wanted it after.
Oh, I do want.
Yeah, you wanted it after. I don't know why it's still bumped down. That's interesting. Oh, you might have a return above your text. There might be a return above it and it's pushing it down. Something like that.
Yeah.
But nevertheless, you guys see how that worked? This style is now controlling this text in my Illustrator document. So to answer your question, Colton, I'm going to click away from nothing is selected now, right? You guys see that? Oh, and by the way, I'm going to demonstrate one more thing. The other thing I wanted to show you. I'm going to stretch this box down, and I ask that all you guys do the same thing. But I don't want to stretch it using the bounding box. Actually, you can use the bounding box, I found out, which is a nice little handy thing. But I like using the direct selection tool for a little more control. And I'll click just on the bottom edge of that path, click and hold, and then holding the Shift key down, I'm going to drag it down considerably to where there's a lot of space after, in my case, the word verse, universe. Now, switch over to your type tool. Again, the type tool here in the tools panel. Click after the period at the end of your sentence, or if you don't have a period, just after the end of your sentence there. And then hit the return key and start typing again. Just one single return key. Notice this 40 points of space after that has been applied to this text, right? That's what that space after is for. You can also do space before, so that there's space before a paragraph, if that happens to work in your layout or project a little better. That's what those are for. Okay, so now to answer your question, Colton, or to demonstrate what you had asked about, click away from everything. Make sure nothing is selected. You could either switch over to the selection tool and click in a blank area of your document, or you can do Command-Shift-A, which will deselect everything in your document. And let's go ahead and double-click on the headlines style again. It should bring it up. It takes a second for some reason, probably because this isn't the fastest computer. And let's go ahead and click on Basic Character Format and change it back to 14. And notice immediately that style has been applied to the text. You see that? Immediately this jumped down in the preview down to 14 points. I'm going to get rid of that space after, so I'll click on the indents and spacing option
Do you
here.
have to have it highlighted to get it?
No, we didn't want it highlighted. Command-Shift-A is what you should have done, or clicking away from it so that nothing was selected. That the important thing. So basically, what I'm trying to demonstrate is, can you imagine if you had hundreds of text boxes all over your artboards, right? You're working on a brochure with multiple pages, and suddenly you realize, 24 points wasn't right. I want it to be 26. Well, all you would need to do in this case is change your character size to 26, and any single piece of type in your entire document that uses that style would be updated instantly and automatically. Cool?
That's very cool.
All right. Good. I'm glad it's cool. That's what it.
That's very helpful.
Yeah. What's that?
What is the language option? Does it change the dictionary to an English?
Where's language?
And an advanced character format.
Advanced character formats.
It doesn't translate. Well,
It doesn't translate it, but what it might do is it allow you to your keyboard to actually type in special characters. The thing is, not all fonts are going to have those special characters built into them. Some fonts do. Little advanced typography there. Fonts come in all shapes and sizes. Like, you don't even have to have any lowercase letters in your fonts. You could design a font. We're going to use one today, actually. You could design a font that's all uppercase and has no lowercase characters. And in some cases, some fonts have multiple language characters built into them, a single font. So yeah, that would allow you to as you typed, your keyboard, the letter C might bring up a special character for the letter C depending on the language. That's what that would do there. So, but yeah, that's pretty advanced stuff. I've never used that that feature, but again, definitely some really powerful stuff to be had here with the paragraph styles. Okay, let me open that back up because I think this. It didn't take. So let me delete this space. Why does it keep going to 0? I think I need. That's why I needed to type 0. And then click on OK. So now I don't have those, if I start typing again, I won't have that big giant gap going on there. All right. Any questions on that so far?
Yeah, I have one.
What's your question, Robin?
Oh, the tabs.
Oh yeah, we didn't demonstrate the tabs.
They keep changing every time I open it.
Oh gosh. Let me open mine. Yeah, I did want to demonstrate the tab. Hadn't intended on it. But since we set one up, let's see what happens. Okay, whoops. Yep, 1/2 inch or so.
Well, mine
And we've got that.
stay.
Oh, that's all right. Don't worry about it staying. That's a troubleshooting thing that you can Google later. But we do have this leader. Remember we talked about this leader? All right, let's go ahead and use that. So I'll click on OK, and I'll go back into my, my document here. And I'm just going to hit a few tabs before the first letter A in this block of text. And notice what happened here. This first tab, those dots, those periods that I typed in, were automatically included in there. How do I know? I'll make it a little more obvious. I'm going to open my headlines style again, and I'm going to increase the distance of that tab. And you'll see it on screen, actually. I'm going to click on that little left tab arrow and slide it way over to 2 inches. Oh, maybe you won't see it. I don't know why it's not updating the preview automatically, but nevertheless, as soon as I click on OK, you notice this first tab that I typed in here now has all of these dots added to it. Okay? That's what the leader's for. The only two I really ever use, actually I do use leaders when doing paragraph styles, but usually I do dots if I want a dotted approach, or I'll use the underscore. And what does the underscore do? It just gives me a nice solid line. You know, a solid line. Oh, the reason I added the space before, by the way, I told you guys to type in space and then the period. The only reason I did that, tabs is what I want. I'm going to click on this, right on this tab. Yep. If I get rid of that space, I'm just clicking before the period, I'm deleting that space. And if I click on the OK button, you notice that's the reason. These dots are really close together. That's the reason I added the space. But I did want to show you that you can add a space in there, and a space is a character that Illustrator will recognize as a leader. So you see my dots are a lot closer together now. Okay?
Mine came out .1, .1, .1.
You might have the number 1 in there. Yeah.
I don't know where I put it.
So, yeah, that might be some other option. I don't know how, maybe you should move machines, Robin. I think you've got a ghost in there. You somehow managed to come up with the strangest anomalies within your computer. That's okay, though. All right, so I'm going to get rid of all those tabs now. I'm just going to, I went to the type tool. I'm going to select all of this stuff before the letter A and go right back to normal. As a matter of fact, I'm going to get rid of that word hello, backspace that, and we're back to where we were. Okay, so now the cool thing about this text here is that I'm clicking on it with my selection tool now, by the way. And this time I am going to use the bounding box to shrink up my area type. And notice it's back to approximately where it was before. But so the reason we went through this exercise, right? The reason we went through this exercise is, so now we're back to where we started, but this is a style now. I know I have a style built for this. So if I go to use this same font setup anywhere else in my document, I can simply plug in that style, and it will update. Okay, so let's go ahead and move on to a new block. This time I'm not going to do type area type. I'm just going to do line type. And somewhere aligned, approximately aligned with the top of the circle here, I'm going to start typing. I'm going to click on my type tool, and I'm just going to click a single time. And that's it. And then I'll just, in this case, type in USS Enterprise 1701A, I think is the one that we drew. And you type whatever you want, but that's the title of this ship. All right, and then I had some funny stuff. I don't know if it's all that funny, actually. I had the captain's name. It's warp factor, all of this stuff over here. We can go ahead and copy that over. If you have your original Star Wars versus Trek document open alongside it, you can go ahead and click on over to that document and select this text over here. So that we don't have to retype all that stuff. And then hit Command-C to copy it. Move back over to your working document. And be sure to hit a return after the letter A. And then paste. Command-V will paste that text into there. All right? Now go ahead and select some of this text we just pasted in there. You can select it anywhere, wherever you... And notice that there aren't any styles applied to this. Again, it's back to normal paragraph style plus. So Adobe Illustrator thinks it's supposed to be myriad, 12-point black, but the plus means we change it to Arial, whatever size, what is it, 12-point, 10-point white. And so that's why that plus is there. But what I'd like to do is create a paragraph style for this. So why don't you guys go ahead and do that? It should be pretty quick. Go ahead and select some of this text and create a paragraph style for this and just call the paragraph style copy. So we're going to pretty much do what we did earlier.
I have a question.
Uh-huh.
When I try to paste it,
Mm-hmm.
it comes really close up there.
Okay.
See?
That's
I mean, how do I get a space in
You can move it. Why not move it? Yeah, sure. Yeah, absolutely. That works.
there? What do you want us to name it?
Name a style called copy. Yeah, Alexis. Go to A362. Images. It's this one here. Copy that over to, yeah, that's the one. Copy that over to your local folders. You're not working off of the server. You should be copy. Do you have questions over here, Cynthia? Which one? Oh, same thing. Go ahead and open the server, AD62. Yep. That's the one, but don't open it from there. Copy it from here to your OneNote. Okay. Copy it. So, because if you try opening it from the server, no one else will be able to do anything because you're working with the actual live document. Any other questions? It's over here.
How much are we supposed to change? Because I just made it.
Yeah, really, there's no changing to do. It came over the way we wanted it.
Okay.
So that's why I had you guys do it on your own, because that one was pretty easy.
Okay.
I didn't ask you to change anything. Yeah, it was just pretty much creating a style from the text that we brought in. Okay?
Oh, you didn't want us to change it?
No, you didn't need to. No, we're going to change it on the next one. So this one I'm going to call copy. Okay.
So what was it? I don't know what it was, I changed it.
Oh, it's okay. No, if you change it, that's fine.
Okay.
Yeah. This is, I mean, you can make your poster pink if you want. You can have some creative freedom. But nevertheless, I know that I have created a style for all of this text here called copy. Now, you notice when I selected it all, copy disappeared from here. Just because I had made the style from the selected text, only part of it was selected. So that style was not applied to this whole block of text that I just reselected. Does everyone go ahead and after you create your style, and again, you don't need to change it, It was just creating the style without any modifications.
Now, what are you highlighting it with the text tool?
Yeah.
I have a hard time doing that. Keeps
You
making
gotta
another
use your command equals key.
0%.
Command equals.
No.
Zoom in here.
We're staying with paragraphs.
Take your type, click directly on
And then
one of
change
the
the name
letters and tell me what happens.
And then hit return to change that name.
Inside of it now?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll just click drag. Does it select your text now?
You guys got that over here, Tom?
To get all of it, you gotta
Yeah,
do it.
it's pretty straightforward stuff. It wasn't all that complicated. It literally was just creating the style and naming it.
I was gonna get on, but I didn't know, but.
But I wanted to have it ready for our next step is the reason we did that, just to demonstrate how you can copy styles and all that stuff. So now I've reselected my text just by clicking and dragging across there, and I'll click on the copy paragraph style. And notice that plus appears again. That plus is there again.
Oh,
Wait.
oh, you did double click on it?
I don't have
I
that.
don't have.
I do. I have
Oh,
it.
okay.
And it all depends on how you created that style.
Oh,
It depends on, if I just selected a portion of that. Did you select all of this block to create your style?
Yeah, and then I
Yep.
resized part of it.
Yep. So that's why you had actually selected all that text. So now, I had only selected part of it. I selected a small portion to create that style. If I were to be able to find that portion and select it again, that plus would go away.
Okay.
All right? But because I have all of this selected now, that style has not been yet applied to all of it. Do you guys remember how to apply that style so that it erases any other character modifications? No? Not just clicking, it's option clicking. Option clicking. Option clicking will erase any character or paragraph modifications that you've made and apply just the style that you click on. So I'll go ahead and do that. Holding the option key down, now I'll click on copy, and indeed that plus goes away, and because there's no plus, I know that that paragraph style has been applied to all of these characters. All right. All right, so we created this copy style, and there's a reason for it. Notice I have this text down here. That's also Arial. This is 8 points and orange. But I'm not going to copy and paste it because I want you guys to write your own stuff up here. All right. You enjoying this one, Colton?
Yeah.
All right. So this time, and this is actually how I did this, I'm just going to take this paragraph because I know it's a block, right? And I'm going to copy it and move it down. And I can do that easily by switching over to my selection tool, clicking on it once, and of course holding the Option and Shift keys. Option makes the copy. Shift constrains the movement. I'll drag it down. So now I have a duplicate of it.
What should we write?
What-
You can write whatever you want. You can write, well, I advise against profanity.
You just clicked inside, did you say?
No, I just copied this.
No, you highlighted it all?
Nope, I used the direct selection tool.
An object.
Just like treat it like an object. Yeah. Okay. So I deleted this first headline, so I'm not typing too big. Okay, and I'm just going to change the text. I think I wrote flying saucer like top. That's fine. Just a little blurb, whatever you want to put in there. And notice that the copy paragraph style is still being applied here. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to click away from that text so it's not selected. Because this time I don't want to borrow from this because it's already done. I want to create a new style separate of what's there. And I had you guys copy the text just so you could see it being applied and in action. I like some of the stuff from my copy paragraph style. I didn't like the font size. I wanted it to be 8 points instead of 10. I didn't like the color. I wanted it to be orange or yellow instead of white. But I did like the amount of leading that I had. Right? Leading is the amount of space between lines, the distance between baselines, basically. It's called leading. And then the other attribute that I liked was this -50 tracking, which squeezes those letters a little closer together, which allows you to fit more on the line and also, in some cases, facilitates reading. Colton.
Okay, this is like really helpful. I was wondering, is this a feature in InDesign?
Absolutely.
Is that-
InDesign is even better at this.
Okay.
Yeah. InDesign is all about styles. I mean, InDesign, you can do table styles. I mean, really cool
Yeah,
stuff.
when we gonna have a class in there?
I don't know. So the 70 class didn't introduce styles, table styles and things like that? No. Table styles are really cool. They're super advanced. Super advanced. I mean, table styles, I even have a hard time with them because, man, you can control the header row and the lines between and the alternating colors. It's like super cool stuff. But yeah, InDesign is all about styles. So InDesign is even better, more powerful than this. Okay, so like I said, there are some attributes of my copy style that I like. So all I need to do is create a duplicate of it, right? And there are a couple of ways I can do that. I first of all, without any text selected, I want to make sure I don't have any text selected. I can click on the copy style, and then from the drop-down menu, I can duplicate it. You see there's a duplicate option. Or the other way to do it, make sure nothing is selected, is I can grab my copy style and drag it down over the Create New Style button. You notice that now my cursor has a little plus next to it, and that button actually appears to be depressed. When I let go, you notice now there's copy style, or copy 2. It took the same name and then added a 2 after it. First thing I'm going to do is change this to tags. After changing the name, I'm going to double click to edit it. And you can also use this menu button to get into editing that, that paragraph style by simply selecting paragraph style options. That's the other way. Or you can double click it, but I'll go ahead and, since I'm here, I'll go ahead and click on this and it'll bring up our dialog box again. Now there were a couple of things that I wanted to be different, right? First of all, I wanted it to be a different font size. So I can see here from my overview window that the size of the font is under my basic character formats option. So that's the one I'm going to click on first. And I'm going to change this to 8 points. Okay? I just clicked on the arrow twice and now it's at 8 points. The next thing I'm going to do is I wanted a slightly different color. This time I'm going to go over to character color. We didn't mess with that earlier, but I was going to demonstrate it here when we actually switch the color. So go ahead and click on character color from the left-hand menu, and you can see that all of the colors that are currently in your swatches panel are here for you to use. Like InDesign and other programs, I think not Photoshop, but other programs that use styles, even Microsoft Word. Well, Microsoft Word actually has a color picker here. Basically, you're limited in this character color option. You're limited to the swatches that you have in your swatches panel. Those are the ones that are being shown here. So you'd have to remember which one it is you want to use, or you'd have to close out of this and then go back in and create the swatch and then come back in and select it. But I'm just going to go down here to the swatch that is 50% magenta and 100% yellow. First of all, I'm making sure that the fill icon is on top so that that is what I end up changing. And I'll click on that. And
50% magenta and what?
100% yellow.
Okay.
Then click on OK. But you can use whatever you want. You can use pink, fuchsia. You're welcome to use cyan, neon green, whatever you'd like. And you notice we created this style, but we didn't have any text selected, so nothing's been applied, right? So now all I need to do is, and I don't need to use the type tool, by the way, for these paragraph styles, you guys. I've been using the type tool just to demonstrate selecting text within a block, but you can just use the selection tool and click on that text, and I'll change the paragraph style to tags. And notice immediately, as soon as I do that, obviously, you knew it was coming. The text took on the attributes that were defined in the style. All right. That's the overview of using styles. Character styles are we're not going to jump into them because they're a little less complex. It's just basically modifying the character itself. The paragraph style includes characters because you still want to be able to modify entire paragraphs. But the character styles, is specifically just that. We can click on it over here, create a new style, double click it to open the character style options, and you can see we have far fewer features here. It's just the characters. Character formats, advanced character formats, which is also in paragraph styles, in which it allows you to scale or shift the baseline. And then, of course, the character color and open type features for open type fonts that are able to take advantage of these advanced options. All right, so let's go ahead and hit cancel. And here we have it, the basic overview of how this infographic was created. The rest of it is just a few dashed lines, some big text, but that's easy to do now, right? Just type in some big numbers and change the font size, and type in some smaller text, and pick whatever colors you want, and that's pretty much it. And so part of this, of course, I wanted to introduce styles for you guys. Any questions on that? Feel free to. You guys aren't turning in, but if you want to continue to explore and use this as a working document, you're certainly more than welcome to.
I have a question that's more on the infographic project. So is
Uh-huh.
an infographic just one page, or can it be like multiple pages of something, or what defines it in the project sense at least?
Well, for the project, it just needs to be a single 11 by 17 artboard. Technically, if you look at it like in terms of Illustrator, it would just be a single artboard.
Okay.
Are we going to print them?
You are. So you're taking an 11 by 17 artboard,
Uh-huh,
right?
uh-huh.
Because I want you to have a larger work area so you can, get more text if you want to, more graphics if you need to. So I don't want to limit your cramming all that into 11 by 7 or 8.5 by 11. So you're going to be working at a larger size, but when you print it, as we'll show you that now, when you go to print it out, you want it to fit to the 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper. And in order to do that, when you select print from the Illustrator file menu, right? File and then print is what you would do, or the keyboard command is Command P. You'll notice that down here under Options, there's a drop-down menu that gives you a few different scaling options, and one of them is Fit to Page. And you notice by hitting Fit to Page, this preview window has now taken my 11 by 17 artboard and shrunk everything down on it, shrunk everything down so that it fits onto an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper. That's all you need to do when you're printing these out. So good question, but yes, you'll print them out in 8.5 by 11 so they fit in your workbook and you can turn them in. But I want you to design an 11 by 17 so you have a larger canvas to work your design on. Is that helpful?
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. I'll go ahead and cancel, and we'll be done. We'll be done with that. All right. Good time for a break. Why don't we do a quick 6-minute break?
Ooh, 6 minutes.
Sorry, I know we've got a lot of stuff to cover. I wish I could give you guys 20-minute breaks. Oh, nice. Did you push that a little further, Sean? Is that yours?
Just added 2 gradients.
Nice. Good work. Yeah, that looks like that's starting to look like a 3D version of the USS Enterprise.
Yeah.
That's
Did you
what-
do
I like that a
3D?
lot.
What do you do?
Yeah. Actually, you could take, that would be pretty cool. You could take all of those concentric circles and
And like the bevel and stuff.
yeah, and extrude them at different depths and create a whole 3-dimensional version of the ship.
Did
You
you,
really
did you
could.
3D it or what'd you do?
Yeah. So that's like the whole thing. I just added gradients onto it. So
Oh, really?
there's the border. There's that gradient, and then I can change it to fill.